Hello, welcome to the How She Made It series. Everything you need to know about becoming a wealthy woman. My name is Tiffany Scott. I am the founder of Sister Suppers, and today we have the amazing Julee Hunt with us. She is a worthiness warrior. I love the way that you share that. She's on a mission to end the unworthiness epidemic so you can believe in yourself, love what you do, and live life fully. Julee, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to have you. Please introduce yourself and tell us about who you are, what you do, and obviously your new book.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Well, thank you for having me, Tiffany. I really do appreciate it. My journey from unworthiness to worthiness was was kind of pushed upon me. And when it came to me at a time when I was at a very, very low in my life. And to me, I call that the dark night of the soul. It's like being in the cocoon and realizing that if you just stay with the darkness, that you will come out this beautiful butterfly. But in the process of doing that and starting a coaching practice, I realized that there are so many people in the world that were living the same way that I was living, in that unworthiness cycle, feeling like they had this life of quiet desperation, screaming to get out and have a different life, but not really knowing how to do it, and having all these messages around us telling us we're not enough. And that was when I decided I have to write the book so that my word can get out more. And my book, the Kindle version came out in July, and the print version just came out a couple weeks ago. So I'm really excited about it, and I've already heard from people saying what a difference it's making in their life, which actually feeds my soul, because I've always wanted to do work that fed my soul, and corporation was not it.
Yeah. So the dark night of the soul, I get the sense that led you into really becoming the worthiness warrior. But what was it
That is correct.
Right. So what was it that actually, if you don't mind sharing, like what happened with that? Was that dark cocoon? I like that you shared about the dark being in that cocoon, right? Because so many of us have experienced that. What was the catalyst to that?
The catalyst is that I had this dream to be the CEO of a big company. And I was bound and determined. I mean, I was going to kill myself to get there. And basically almost did. I spent 25 years climbing that corporate ladder. And every time that I climbed a rung on that ladder, I sold a piece of my soul to the corporation. And it led as I got into the higher levels of the company, it led to feeling unfulfilled and unhappy and just totally empty. Like, it wasn't what my vision was. My vision was I would be making a huge difference to the betterment of our world. And I felt like I was working to pay bills. And in the process, I became a workaholic. And I worked too many hours, and I traveled too much for the company. In fact, I can even tell you what night I got pregnant, because I was only home 2 nights that month.
Oh my gosh.
That's how bad my life was. And I thought that when I got to the top, that there would be like these 3 boxes with big shiny bows on top labeled happiness, worthiness, and self-love, as though they weren't mine to have until I made that jump into the CEO position. And boy, was I wrong on that one. But one day I was invited to leave my job while the company was capsizing, and that was when the darkness began.
Right. So you didn't get the CEO position, and then you were asked to leave, and then you went into really a journey of deep self-discovery that was very uncomfortable to start with, and then the butterfly bloomed at the end of it. So
yes.
I love that. And I can totally recognize, and I'm sure so many people can recognize with that story, right? Like I went through something similar where, again, I left Australia, came to the US to like spread my wings and discover what I was capable of and what I could do, and landed a job in LA, which for the first 6 months was actually amazing. And then 6 months in, I was like, oh my God, this is the same thing, different country, right? And then universe works in amazing ways. I lost my job. They downsized. They actually got rid of the LA office in the end. And I was like, what am I going to do with my life? Right. So I totally associate with what you're sharing. But so what, for me, I discovered my path was really helping women connect, helping women step into their light, helping women to see each other more fully so we can grow together. For you, what was the worthiness part that really came to light for you?
What really came to light for me was I had this desire to help women, and my desire was to help them see their value, because we have so many. Well, for me, I felt like I was a fraud, because I was walking into this corporation pretending that I should have this important job, acting like I knew what I was doing, but deep down, I felt like I didn't. I didn't feel like I had enough value or worthiness within me, or even self-love, to have that position. And why the company even thought I should have it was beyond my wildest dreams.
Wow, yeah.
But I pretended every day. And, being asked to leave, at the time, it seemed like such a hit to the gut. But in essence, it was a gift, a huge gift that was given to me. I felt like the day after I woke up that I had left my identity and my self-love and my worthiness at the desk I'd left the day before. And that was quite an ouch for me. Like, whoa, what were you thinking? You were so gung-ho on achieving this goal that you totally forgot about you.
Right.
And I was just shortly after that diagnosed with adrenal fatigue.
Yep.
Which is that those adrenals are the things that actually keep your body going, moving, and, safe from disease. And if I had not lost my job, I might have gotten a really serious illness.
Right.
Life-threatening. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So in that process of realizing that, we never talked about that in the upper levels of the company.
Right.
Women never spoke. We didn't speak to each other about feeling unworthy, or, we had to pretend we were just the men. And so that just hearing so many stories, knowing that my story was not the only one out there, is what made me realize we have an epidemic. And just watching how people interact with people in our world, the unkindness, the racism, it's just overwhelming to me. And all of that, the underlying message for all of that is, I'm not enough. And so therefore I'm going to be these other things.
Yeah, absolutely. Or tear somebody else down so we can feel like we are enough. I think I can totally relate to imposter syndrome. Like, I'm not good enough. What am I doing here? How did this happen? This is a mistake, right? And I've heard so many women in particular, some men, but so many women in particular have that sense. And the more we can speak about it and recognize it in each other, the more soothing it is to just be like, oh my gosh, when you look at another sister, like I look at you and I'll be like, oh my God, you're amazing. How could you ever think that about yourself? Right. And we just do. So what has been the journey for you to really step into your own worthiness? What are some of the things that you've done to really own that you are an amazing woman, that you can love yourself, and also be able to live in a motorhome and travel and live wherever you want across the USA, which I think is super cool.
Thank you. I do love the life we create. I think that, just understanding that I was born with an unlimited supply of worthiness. We all were, every single one of us, an unlimited supply of worthiness. It's like I want to say it's like a light that glows real bright inside of you. And as we grow up, we are taught unworthiness. And then the reason it's uncomfortable to us is that it's not our natural born state. worthiness is actually our natural born state, but we live in a negatively charged world. We have social media where we get to compare ourselves to other. We have the negative news where they're always finger pointing and trying to find the worst thing that somebody did. We have advertising that if I'm not gray free, fat free,
Yep.
or, you know, the six-pack abs, I'm not worthy of, you know, taking up space on this planet. But the fact that an egg and a sperm got together and made you, the miracle of life, means you're worthy to be here. But that we're taught unworthiness. And
Yeah.
so it's time to relearn and go back to our natural born state. That little light that glowed inside of you, it never goes out. It just becomes a pilot light, and you get to reignite it. You get to make it glow again, just like it did when you were born.
Yeah.
And
So,
yeah, I don't know if I answered your question or not.
well, so it was great.
Thank you.
Everything you shared, it's such a great reminder. I love that, you know, a sperm and an egg came together and made you, so that makes you worthy, right? And we forget that there's this social conditioning that happens through the media, which is a big thing. It's rife on social media. I remember my business coach always says comparison is the thief of joy, and I love that so much. Like, it's so easy to go on, oh my God, she's got the life that I want, she's got the body that I want, and she's got this, and then totally detached with the amazingness that you are. So what are the things that we can do to really, it's one thing to say I'm worthy, right? A mantra, like I'm worthy, I'm worthy, I'm worthy, but what are some things that we can do, or a way of being, to really step into going, yeah, I'm a badass, I'm awesome.
Right. Well, the first place I started was my self-talk. Started listening to my self-talk. I was taught to teach. I was taught to talk to myself in a negative manner. If you're not perfect, you're not worthy. You're an idiot. You're not smart enough. You're not thin enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not. And then you start playing this when I game. When I'm pretty enough, when I'm thin enough, then I'll be happy.
Right.
And so I started with a little notebook, and every time I heard a negative thought come through my mind, I would write it down. And I was a little shocked to find out how much I actually maintained my negativity garden. I mean, it was all day long, and it was no surprise to me that I was exhausted at the end of every day because of that. And I decided that at night I would use one of the tools from my book that I called the turnaround. And I would take that negative message and I would turn it into a positive affirmation. And I would say those throughout the day. And I would, even though I didn't believe them, I would continue to say them. It's what I call retraining my brain back to the way it was when I was born. And the other thing that I did the self-talk, and these, they go together, they kind of are in sync together, is to love yourself, to look in the mirror and say, I love you. Now, I couldn't do that when I was first asked to say that by one of my coaches. Look in the mirror, look deep into your eyes and say, I love you. Wait, I can't love me. I have a little bit of extra, fat around the middle. I have something here on my face. How can you look in the mirror? You're not perfect. And perfectionism nearly cost me my life. But it was, those were the two things: to learn to love myself and to use affirmations to build me up.
Yeah.
And change my belief, retrain my brain.
There's something really powerful about really looking at yourself in the mirror, like looking into your eyes and saying, I love you. Like, that in itself can be really transformational. And some days can be easier than others. Like, I still practice that. And sometimes I'm like, oh gosh, there's the cellulite. Nope, wait, I love my cellulite. Like, right? It's hard, but I think you create a love muscle in yourself. It's a reframing and a retraining. I agree with you that it does work, but it takes time and it takes practice. And it's a little bit of faking it till you make it as well. So what are some of the other things that you recommend that maybe you share in your book around really stepping into self-worth and being your own worthiness warrior?
Um, well, I mentioned one, which was, stop comparing yourself to others. But another good one is stop assuming things.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that word starts with 3 letters, and that's exactly what we are when we start assuming things. We assume that other people are looking at us and judging us, and number one, it's kind of weird to think that other people are thinking about us all the time when really those other people are worried about what you might be thinking. They're not thinking about you. They're worried about what you're thinking about them, and nobody's worrying about what anybody else is, about themselves. So, I don't know, does that make sense? But
We get it. We get it.
yeah, but assumptions, and then another one is judgment. Give up judgment, man. Stop judging the cellulite. Stop judging that you have a gray hair, or that you don't think you're pretty enough, or you're not smart enough, or whatever it is that your thing is. I mean, we all have them.
Yeah. I learned a lot about assuming things actually after my first marriage ended. Like, I learned so much about assuming what I knew people would say or how they would act or react. And I was often so wrong. Not always in a good way, but always in a good way, if you know what I mean. Like,
right.
Right. So the assumption of people are judging you, for the most part, we're so concerned about the way that we look that we're not looking at the way that you look, or and if we're often judging someone else, it's because we're judging ourselves. That's a thing that I keep remembering. If I'm judging someone else in the way that they look, I immediately like, okay, what is it about them that is within me, right? So that's always a good reminder that it's all at the core of it. It's all about me. It's all about us in the way that I can show up for me first and foremost. And I think you're such a great example of that as well. Like, Julie's a regular Sister Supper attendee, and she always comes in, and she's such a joy, and she brings so much vivaciousness and honesty and truth. I love being in your presence. So with that, you've stepped into being the worthiness warrior. You've written a book. You're a coach. You help women to step into their worthiness, which I think is such a gift to the world. And you're living the life that you've really created for yourself, which I would imagine when you're in corporate, you would have never thought of or imagined or maybe dreamt of, but thought not possible. And now you're living a total life of freedom. I'm totally envious of you, living in a motorhome. Living just a little bit outside of Austin right now, so you can be closer to your son or sons. Are they both near?
No,
yeah,
no,
your
I
son.
just have one. Yeah.
Okay, it's just the one. So how long have you been living in the motorhome for, and what was the catalyst to make that decision for you and your husband to go, yep, you know what, we're gonna live in a motorhome, and we're just gonna live wherever we want?
Right. Well, we did this once before in 2004 when I lost my corporate job.
Okay.
And took a whole year and traveled with our son, homeschooled him that year. And we loved it. We loved the lifestyle. We loved the freedom. We loved how much we got to see in the world. But our son wanted to go back to public school. And, he went back to a private school. But anyway, it was one of those things where we needed to land in the city, and so he could finish his schooling. And he asked if we could stay there until he graduated from college, which we did. And seriously, this stuff you cannot make up, Tiffany. We were going to go back into a motorhome in 2016 after he graduated in 15 and all of it. But like 2 months before he graduated, somebody walked up to our front door and knocked on the door and said they wanted to buy our house, that they wanted to live in this neighborhood, that they had, they loved the floor plan of our house, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, it's up for sale next year. No, we want to move in by June. So basically, we had an auctioneer come and sell everything in our house. We moved into the RV in 2015. And when we went to our son's college education, we said, by the way, we don't live there anymore. But it was a decision that we were going to make, or we had already made, we would do after he graduated, but it ended up getting moved up a whole year, and was quite the whirlwind. But we have just had so much fun in the whole process.
So great. I
But
love that.
it's very cathartic to get rid of your stuff. I
Oh
don't
yeah.
want you to know.
Oh, I know. I've done it a few times. First, with my first marriage, I basically left him everything, which that was a whole learning curve. Like to start from scratch again was like, again, like it was such a renewal. But when I left Australia for the US, I got rid of everything there as well. I left some things in my friend's basement, which, thank you, Alex, they're still there. Oh, what happened?
I know we froze.
Oh, we froze.
But we're back.
We're back. We're back. Anyway, I won't repeat myself because I forgot what I said now. But yes, I left some friends in my friends in my basement, some stuff in my friend's basement. I was saying thank you, Alex. Some of it's still there, but it's so cathartic to like cleanse and release things that you know that no longer serve you. And I think the unworthiness part of that as well, like cleanse yourself of that self-talk, cleanse yourself of that comparison, like really replace it with things that serve you. And so I want to talk a little bit more about your book. You wrote it in your motorhome, I would imagine, right?
I
It was
did.
there.
Yes, I did.
So tell us more about your book, the name of it. They can obviously buy it on Amazon. What inspired you to write it? I know it's worthiness, but what made you go, you know what, I'm going to sit down and write a book? Because that's no small feat.
Right. Well, I love to write. And I when I started to write the book, I actually worked with a developmental editor who helped me take my ideas and put them into an outline. But the reason I wanted to write the book was to get my message across to a larger audience. Because people have been asking me, well, do you have the how-to formula? And it's like, well, there is a formula, but it's different for every person. You know, it's like your journey is going to be different than my journey, but having the information, so many people just don't know that they have the power to create the life they want.
Right.
That's not what they've been taught. We don't teach that. We teach you grow up, you become an adult, you get a job, you work till you retire, you live a little bit, you die. That's really what we're taught. And nobody ever says in there, you can have this amazing life in that process.
Yep.
Or that you don't have to wait till retirement to live life. You can live life through the whole journey. And I just felt like, well, when I learned that, I'm like, well, why aren't more people sharing this? Why aren't more people sharing that information so that we can all know it? And that was why I decided to write the book. And part of the book, the whole first section is on unworthiness, how we learn it, how it's impacting our own life as well as the world. And then the second section's on worthiness, how we reignite it, how it impacts the world, how we can change our lives. And then the third section is all on tools that you can use in your journey.
Beautiful.
And you can find it on Amazon, and the title is You Are Worthy Even When You Believe Otherwise. It's a guide for the overwhelmed perfectionist.
Yes. Yes. I love that. Very clear title. What books are you reading at the moment, or a book that inspires you?
I'm reading The Prosperous Coach right now, and I'm also reading Wisdom of Super Soul Sunday. I love Super Soul Sunday, and I love the people that come on, the messages, because they're so in line with my message. And she had put a book together that was kind of a compilation of all the different people that have been on Super Soul Sunday and the lessons the ahas from their show.
Oh, amazing. I didn't know that. I want to get my hands on that. And The Prosperous Coach is a great book as well. So, words of wisdom. I feel like you've shared a lot of wisdom and insights today. But if you could share one thing with someone that is in that unworthiness hole per se right now, what would be one thing that you'd recommend that they would do just to take a small step towards worthiness?
The first thing I'd ask them to do is start asking what if questions. What if I could believe in myself? What would my life look like? What if I could believe that the world was conspiring on my behalf? What if I could do what I really wanted to do and not be stuck in this life I don't like?
Yeah.
What if? Start asking yourself the what if questions and really spend time in silence and hear the answers. And because when you ask the what if questions, you're asking for inner guidance to come forth and help you see the light.
Yeah, and I have to agree with you. It works when you sit in that silence, like when you really allow your space to ask the questions. What if questions? That's a great one. But ask the questions for guidance. The answers show up, but you've got to allow that space and that silence for it to be. You can't just sit in front of your computer when you're doing, if you're like me, too many things at once and ask the question. It's that space. Do you journal?
I do. I actually have what I call my worthiness workout. and I
Oh,
and I do it every day. Every day I either run or walk in nature, and it's my gratitude walk. So I always list gratitude first thing in the morning and while I'm walking. I love nature. We live in the country, and the sunrises and sunsets are so beautiful out here. It's just amazing. And then when I return, and after I've showered and all that good stuff, I sit down and I meditate. I light a candle, I meditate, and I I can't say how long I do it because it's different every day.
yeah,
Whatever, it's however long I need it to be.
yeah.
I'll ask questions. Sometimes I'll chant, but after I meditate, I write down what I heard, and I write down other things I might want to learn tomorrow.
Oh, I love that.
And then I always list at least 3 gratitudes in my journal at the end of that, because you cannot be negative and grateful at the same time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, such great tools and tips. Thank you so much. So, how do they find you? Share your website, and I know that you have like a really great free gift that they can share, that they can get from you to stay connected with you as well.
That is correct. My website is Julee, Julee, sorry, the spelling is different.
Please.
Julee with 2 E's, juleehunt.com. And there is a worthiness warrior test that you can take on my website in the top right-hand corner to determine where you are in your journey, and, what steps, what to take next. So that's
Beautiful.
on my website. My book's on Amazon. You can also find it on my website as well.
That's awesome. And I just want to congratulate you for writing a book, because it takes time, it's heart and soul. And I love that you shared that it was because you wanted to get this out. So more, and I remember when you just written it, or you just launched it, and you came to a sister supper and you're like, I just want women to be able to receive this. I want this message to get in more hands of more women. And I think that's such a beautiful way to show up in the world. So thank you for coming on and sharing your wisdom and sharing and showing up about your worthiness journey and the tools that we can do to continue to step into our worthiness. Your work is so needed and so beautiful, and you get to continue to step into your purpose work, which I think is what at the end of the day we're really looking for: love, purpose, making a difference in the world. And you're doing that. So thank you, Julee.
Thank you. You're welcome. And thank you for having me, Tiffany. I really appreciate it.